You're listening to Systemic Error Podcast. The failure was designed.
The Trump admin just entered a surreal new phase based on an article by Jon Stewart, a president who demands reality submit tariffs as tribute. The source story is simple enough. Trump keeps praising tariffs even as the piece says they have driven up prices, then ruled illegal by the Supreme Court and left him underwater in approval. That is the setup. The real subject is not tariffs alone, but a president who treats obvious damage as a loyalty test and demands everyone else describe it as success. Power, not confusion. The institutional power sits with Trump. He is the one imposing the tariff regime, setting the terms of political reality, and deciding what counts as truth inside his administration. That matters because the article is not describing an accidental policy failure. It is describing command power used to force a false narrative on everyone below it. When Trump says the tariffs are incredible, the point is not persuasion. It is domination. He is not trying to explain the economy. He is trying to make dissent costly. That is how personal rule works when he is no longer embarrassed by facts. Scapegoats on demand. The Lincoln Memorial Reflecting Pool episode shows the machinery clearly. Jeanine Pirro, as U.S. Attorney for D.C., went looking for body to punish after a botched renovation. David Heen was accused of vandalism. Then the charges collapsed when a court filing attributed the damage to a contractor rushing the installation before the 250th anniversary celebrations. That is not a misunderstanding. It is a governing style. The administration wanted blame, not truth, and Pirro was there to supply it. When the story broke against her, Doug Burgum, as Interior Secretary, reportedly lied back upward to protect the preferred version. Everyone in that chain had a role, one to accuse, one to authorize, one to preserve Trump's fantasy when the facts refused to cooperate. The article is right to treat this as more than incompetence. It is institutional cowardice arranged around a single man's ego. The cabinet is chorus. Trump then humiliates the people who perform loyalty for him, calling Pirro a failure even though she was doing exactly what the system around him rewards, inventing guilt to serve the boss. That is the trap for his circle. They are not partners. They are disposable props. This is why the piece lands on Trump's line, "I'm the president and you're not." That is the raw truth of the arrangement. The administration is built less like a government than a court. Its officials are not there to govern well. They are there to validate the ruler's mood, absorb the fallout, and keep repeating the story until the story breaks them too. View islands with a smile. The pattern extends beyond petty humiliation. The article notes that Trump is denying disaster relief to democratic states, a separate abuse of power that fits the same logic. He used federal authority as punishment, then pretend the punishment is neutral administration. It also notes his response to the reported cyber attack on Minnesota water systems. Instead of blaming the foreign actor described in the source, Trump blamed Minnesota itself, calling it grossly incompetent. That is political violence in miniature. It shifts responsibility from aggressor to victim, from attacker to target, from power to the people forced to absorb the damage. It also tells state governments exactly what they can expect from a president who sees blue states not as constituents, but as enemies to be disciplined. The systemic error. The article's weakest frame is its most revealing, calling Trump merely authoritarian, maybe too polite. The deeper pattern is not a strawman with a rough style. It is a presidency organized around grievance, retaliation, and reality denial, with underlings pressed into service as liars and fall guys. That is the systemic error. Not one bad policy, not one unstable personality. A political order where personal whim outranks evidence, where subordinates are taught to lie before they are taught to govern, and where the public is expected to pay the bill for the ruler's fantasies. You've been listening to Systemic Error. Thanks to Alternet for today's article, with the automated voice of Norman. Thanks for listening.